This is the team that I wanted to talk about, and there was a lot that kind of went right for this team to even be in the situation that it was. If you remember in 2007, the Twins had a losing record. I think Cleveland had like almost 100 wins, and Detroit was like a 90-win team. So the Twins had a losing record. In the offseason prior to this year, they traded Johan Santana. I think they traded Jason Bartlett too, I think those were their two highest WAR players. Michael Kadire got hurt in this year in 2008. So it was a team that was coming off a losing year, had really zero expectations because Johan Santana was traded away, the ace of the staff. They didn't really replace those guys with a lot, especially a lot of established. There was definitely some excitement about having Delman Young, who had been the number one prospect at the time in all of baseball, and Carlos Gomez, who was a huge prospect as well. So there was excitement about sort of the future of the team. But like in terms of expectations, just look at this roster. Like Alexi Casilla, Nick Punto, Brian Busher, and Brennan Harris were like the primary infielders with Justin Morneau. And then the pitching staff: Nick Blackburn, Scott Baker, Kevin Slowey, Glenn Perkins, Levon Hernandez, and then Liriano. So just a bunch of guys, 26, 24, 25, a bunch of guys really early on in their careers. And, there was even some guys in the bullpen that didn't, Matt Guerrero had been really good and he had a bad year. Obviously, Joe Nathan was great because Joe Nathan was always great. Hall of Fame Joe Nathan. He's got like 3 people voting for him. It's garbage. One of the best relief pitchers ever. And I know like relief usage has changed dramatically. So it's hard to compare back eras that didn't use closers like we do now. But man, Joe Nathan, he should be getting way more Hall of Fame love. But this was such a weird team. This is such a weird team to win 88 games. And this was the game 163 that they unfortunately lost to Chicago. But they tied for the AL Central division lead through 162. And this weird team that traded away Jose Barria. It was just like a Freudian slip, I think is what they call those, right? Traded away Johan Santana. So you see there are some parallels of this team that just had no expectations. Traded away their ace the prior year. Yes, like everything kind of had to fall into place. I don't remember the exact details of like what happened to Cleveland and Detroit this year. I'm sure they lost some guys maybe in free agency and then some big injuries probably. It's almost impossible to envision the Twins being better than the White Sox in 2022 this coming season. That team's just really looking great. That team looks stacked. Detroit is going to be doing more. They signed Eduardo Rodriguez. They signed Javi Baez. They're going to be trying to get better. This isn't, things are going to happen to some of these other teams. The Royals have a nasty farm system coming up. That team is going to be dangerous. Probably not this coming year, but soon. And Cleveland's always tough. So, this is sort of the hope that I have for, if the Twins don't finish this offseason on some kind of crazy high note, is that it kind of comes down to young guys are always super high variance. And I focused on the negative side in that video I recently did about Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober, and about how it just seems like very dangerous to sort of count them in as being these sort of rocks of the rotation already when we don't really know that for sure. But stuff like this happens. Stuff like the 2008 Twins happens sometimes where young guys play better than you thought. Your rotation full of young guys ends up being a little bit better than you thought they would. And then a team that you were thinking was going to be a juggernaut in your division ends up falling apart, sort of like the Twins did last year. That's sort of one of the beauties of the AL Central is it just seems like nobody can really stay on top of it for that long. There is not a juggernaut team in this division that just dominates year after year after year. I know that's maybe like a technicality of being positive that we're in such a bad division. But I'm going to take it. After your team has an awfully disappointing year, goes from first to last, basically doesn't compete the whole year, the whole season, all 6 months. Just awful. I have no problem with sitting here and saying, hey, at least the division's not always very good.